Welcome back to The Bottom Line. I'm your host, Ryan Herpin, and we're here to continue this powerful conversation with Mr. Todd Wall. Honestly, somebody who is just blowing my mind right now with his expertise and experience and knowledge in effective communication. Now, let's give the audience some practical steps. So, Todd, it is a pleasure to have you here. I'm excited to dig into this more with you.
I love it, Ryan. Let's get to that bottom line. Let's go for it.
So, how can we implement in today's world with all the sensitivities that surround communication? How can we still get a message across on a touchy topic without striking massive offense?
Then in that scenario, it's if you understand it's delicate, how do you normally handle delicate things? So one of the coaching principles that I operate by, if it's true there, then it's also true here. So you find, just like we did with the paper towel in the absorption, I can understand how to do something by understanding how I do virtually the same thing somewhere else. So if I'm pulling something hot out of the oven, I'm going to have some mitts on. I'm going to have a little bit of protection in place. And so, because I understand that it's hot, so I'm going to understand that I'm going to need to have some protection, and that other person also is going to kind of handle it kind of delicately. So if I understand that it's hot on the front end, I don't grab that thing out of the hot oven and yank it out and move quickly. That's going to spill all over everybody. That would be a tad aggressive, I would say. So that's the first element. Am I going too aggressive? Am I handling a delicate issue in a delicate way? Same thing as if I'm pulling something out of a hot stove.
I really like that. And in today's world, like I said, it's so easy to have a hard conversation. So this leads me to something that's a little more practical. Mm-hmm. What are some daily habits or disciplines we can implement in our lives to prepare us to be effective communicators, even when it is hard? I'm all about discipline and routine and refining skills and abilities. So even for me, what are some disciplines we can implement that'll get us prepared to be confident and effective in those situations?
Oh man, you just went into my wheelhouse. I believe that everyone needs a playbook. This is what I do with my clients. I help them build a personal playbook. And this is where what it comes into. We're all dealing with specific situations that deviate us from our normal day-to-day life, our normal day-to-day situation. That specific situation requires me to believe something differently and to think differently and act differently in order to get to the other side of that parentheses. I have to be intentional to analyze what is the situation that I'm in so that I know which tools to operate by, so that I don't bring a hammer when a screwdriver is what's necessary. So let me back up even the next step prior to that. So that I can be authentic in the moment, I need to know what my message is on the front end. If I'm fully prepared on the front end, then I can be in the moment. The greatest power is when the message transforms into the messenger. So the messenger becomes the message. It's when that unity actually occurs. So what are your primary messages? Are they written down ahead of time? Or are they just floating in the nebulous of your brain so that when you're in the moment, it's your emotions that are going to come out? Okay.
That's fair.
So ahead of time, what is your message? And here's the thing I love to talk about. Taking that complex message and then boiling it down to where it could go on a t-shirt, it could go on a bumper sticker. These are what I call pregnant phrases, meaning it's packed full of life. And so that when I explain it, they go, oh, that's what that means. Now, every time I say that over and over again, all I need to say is the short phrase, and they automatically understand the rest of it. What if the complexity of your business culture or your message, you explain whatever that bumper sticker is, and then you keep repeating the bumper sticker?
Brevity.
And making it memorable. Would someone put it on their car?
Right. Yep. And it's funny.
They wear it on a t-shirt.
It's funny. I always tell my business partner, he is the master of brevity. He's got all these little one-liners that are just so jam-packed of meaning and has so much depth, but it's not that way for everybody. It's because I've built this relationship with him, communicated with him long enough that all these jam-packed things have that meaning for me. Yeah. Right. So there's that deeper connection aspect of the communication. And while we're working on these disciplines and these attitudes, these attributes to become better and more prepared for those situations of communication, how can we measure if we're becoming more effective communicators? I find we can't truly change things that we cannot measure. So what are some strategies that our listeners, even myself, could employ to measure if we're improving?
So it's the physical picture of, did I speak it and walk away? Or did I speak it and listen? Am I getting the result that I'm looking for? It comes down into, what's the physical result? If you say danger to the left and they walk to the right, there's a gap in communication there somewhere. Don't blame them. They probably heard something different than what you intended to say. The biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it actually took place. So we got to begin with this understanding that communication is difficult, and I need to break it into small intentional pieces. I got to make sure that each bite is swallowed. And it comes down to follow-up questions. When I said that, what did you hear when I said that? Asking the team to recap what they heard, building a culture where people mirror back. And this is active listening. I think this is the basis of active listening. If you create within your culture the action of, okay, what I heard you just say was X, Y, Z. Then with your team, you can easily say, what did you hear me just say? And it's not an attack. It's not defensive. It's part of your culture. We just want to make sure we're heard. And so, we don't always speak as clearly as we think we do. In fact, the majority of the time we don't.
I would have to agree with that on so many levels. And you touched base on something that I also think is very valuable to talk about. What advice could you give to those who struggle with the confidence in communication? What could you give to help somebody overcome the fear or hesitation in communicating, whether it be just to another individual or a group? What are some ways that people can overcome that?
This is my wheelhouse because my specialty is coaching introverts. I had one client that I love. She was an accountant, and she began the very first session. She needed to make these big reports in front of the CEOs and the top executives on a regular basis, and she was stuttering and stammering through each one, and she was losing authority each time. And when our first session, she said, "Look, I need to begin just by telling you, I'm clinically diagnosed with social anxiety about talking in front of people." And I said, okay, well, let's see what we can do. Here's what I've learned. We operate according to the identity that we've given ourselves. People always doubt me when I tell them I am an introvert. I'm an introvert also that in high school and young age, I had a lot of anxiety about speaking out in public, about doing things public, a lot of anxiety. But I built a character. I built an identity that I could hide behind. And when I was in television, it was this character, TV Toad, that had a dance on the sideline at Dallas Cowboy games. And it was an alter ego that I was able to operate with. And so this person I was coaching, I said, well, who's somebody that you really idolize? She says, oh, I really idolize Oprah. Okay. Well, what does Oprah do? She said, and she walks in the room. She has this authority. She does this. She does. Okay. So you've got a clear picture of that. And so we said, one thing we notice Oprah do is it's as if she's holding a boulder. She lifts that boulder up. She tightens her belly and she brings all that air in. And then she lowers it down to where the people can understand it. Do you see how I just taught that person to change their vocal tone by the visual of lifting up the boulder, pulling in that air? And so she took on this new identity of being Oprah in these moments. She is dynamite now. No, I went at the first. I talked to the COO afterwards. I said, "Did you happen to notice anything differently?" She said, "Oh, she was a completely different person." So it's about choosing an identity to where you're not wearing your anxieties. You put on your superhero costume. You choose your superhero. You choose the person that you want to be, and you step into and you show up as that person. You become that identity that you're wanting to be. It is 100% your choice. And you choose it, you define it, and you step into it. Beyonce has done this for years with her character of Sasha Fierce. This is where part of where this comes from. I met Beyonce one day on a beach. She didn't look like the person we know on stage. She looked meek. She had no makeup on. She was quiet. There has to be a character that you step into.
I love how you put that, because one of my deep beliefs is life is just the art of constantly becoming something. Yeah. Right. And I love this. This has been absolutely wonderful. Todd, thank you so much for sharing your expertise today. I think you've definitely shown that communication truly is the heartbeat of connection, influence, and success. And after that story, I can only imagine how many people are really going to want to reach out to you and learn from you personally. Where can people find you?
Hey, they can email me directly at toddwall@yet.coach. And so it's just reach out. If you've got a question, email me, and let's have a conversation. It's all about that dialogue.
It's been absolutely wonderful, extremely powerful. Like if I would have just had my notes in front of me and scratched a lot of that down so I could reflect on that later, because I think one thing that I have learned from this is all of us can improve in our communication. And I think today's conversation reminded us that effective communication isn't just a skill. It's the foundation of everything we build, whether it's leadership, relationships, or personal growth. How we communicate shapes every outcome that we have. So I challenge you, commit today to listening actively, speaking authentically, and connecting genuinely. Remember, true success isn't just about being heard. It's about being understood. Thank you for joining us today on this impactful episode of The Bottom Line. I hope to see you next time. Coming soon.